Happy Monday morning. We have some college basketball best bets on the way in today's video. And there's a few games today that can kind of go either way, kind of like a toss-up. I like those days where we don't have to sweat out a spread, when we could just take a money line. So I have a few of those on the way for you guys. This is the free three. Let's get into it and let's have a day.
I love it, Noble. Noble, I also love your YouTube videos. I watched them while I was gone. That was fire.
But getting paid because yesterday we had a full sweep. Mike going under, that was just icing on the cake. Why are we going to go in such a weak AFC South? Unless we have the NBA Blowout Association.
Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13
When you hear the sirens, you know what that means.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
What is up, my people? It is your boy Noble Living, back with another DYF Bets video. I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and get to that money. On Friday, we had a really good day. I told you, it's been a rough it's been a rough February. Let's just say February. I think besides the Super Bowl, it's just been like a downhill slope in CBB. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're losing a lot of money line lays by like one team. We're getting like 2 of the 3 legs right, or 3 of the 4 legs right. So we got to make adjustments. And right now, it's like I still want to take money line lays because we're still trying to get ready for the March Madness, which is right around the corner. We've got conference tournaments, we've got March Madness, and I don't want to just like say like I'm done betting, or just like I've taken a few days off here and there, but I still want us to be locked in and dialed, because now is the time where you're really starting to see which teams play certain styles, which ones match up against certain coaches, and how this is going to translate to a tournament setting. Because again, all you need to do in the tournament is win one game, and if you're faced against a team that you match up well against, it doesn't matter about the rankings, it doesn't matter about All-Americans or any of that. Sometimes the team that doesn't have the better record in the lesser conference wins. Why? Because of how they play the game, or how they play basketball. So that's what we're really dialing in with right now as we get closer to the March Madness time. So the quick recap on Friday, what we did here on the channel, we went 2-0 actually. We took UCLA on the money line on Friday, and then we also took a 3-way parlay with Yale, North Kentucky, and Kent State. Now, they almost hold Kent State in this game, and they were able to pull it out, but for me, that was like icing and validation on the cake after the weekend that we had as well, where I'm like, okay, we need to take a little break, a bit of a break from moneyline parlays. Why? So let's like scroll, see how we did over the weekend. I put out a hardway haymaker. These were 12 teams that I had put out. You can see all the green that we got, but we got 2 teams wrong. We got UNC Wilmington wrong, and we got Kansas wrong. So those 2 losses hurt. We went 10 of 12, but you can see over the weekend we did hit a plus 100 moneyline parlay. This was all tracked on the Action Network. We took Auburn. We did lose on Stanford, but a few of our other moneyline parlays that we lost 3 of 4, lost 2 of 3. Same thing on Sunday. You can see here 1 of 3, 3 of 4. So we got to adjust, right? That's what we got to do in this gambling game. You can't just keep trying to throw stones at the wall, or trying to see like what's going to work. And if it's broke, you know, you got to fix it, right? So this is what we're going to do today. 3 best bets, 3 straight picks. Keep it simple. No money line parlays for today, even though I do think there are some good money line spots. It's not the best of games, in all honesty, because we got a lot of Southland and SWAC and some of the lower conferences, but there are a few games that we're going to break down for today's video. So for us, real quickly, what we're going to do is, if you can, smash that subscribe button for me and like the video. I greatly appreciate it. It helps us grow the algorithm, and we're going to dive into the college basketball board real fast. Obviously, no NBA because of the All-Star break. What did you guys think about that All-Star game last night? I mean, the fact that there was more Kevin Hart than there was actual basketball, I mean, that shit was ridiculous. But you know what? I'll get into that later. But for today, let's dive into our first best bet, and we're going to go to the rivalry, Virginia and Duke. And Virginia is one of those teams, guys, that we know they have not been as good this year as what we're used to seeing from Virginia. 13-12 on the year. Meanwhile, Duke is 22-3, led by Cooper Flagg. We know this. We know how good Duke has been all season long. But the thing is, but the thing is about Duke is they've been getting really generous spreads. And we have a very large spread today. Now the line has moved down to 13.5. I saw it at 15.5. And I'm on the side that a lot of people are on as well. I had Virginia at plus 15. Now we can see that there's significant line movement here. I do like it at 13. I would really do the 14, and I'm going to try to do the 14.5 here. So I would pay for like 14.5 at like minus 125. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make like a custom one here, minus 125. I'm just going to do that for 1 unit down. And the reason why this is, I heard Matt Perrault on the Daily Juice. If you guys don't watch that podcast, you should. It's a great podcast. He spoke about how he used to work at Virginia and how this is one of those games that this is where this program gets up for, where the fan base gets excited for. And I 100% agree. Virginia always plays Duke tough. Even like, I mean, obviously we had to go from the Tony Bennett days, but it's a game that even some of the times where Tony Bennett didn't have his best teams, that they showed up for and they played tough. If we scroll down here, you can see it's not been the best season for Virginia from what we're used to seeing for them, starting 1-6 in conference play, but they got it together recently. They've won 3 straight games, won 4 of their last 5, and obviously these are not the best of wins. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, those are not the top of the conference, but it still gives you confidence going into this game and it being at home. Now, Duke obviously is Duke. There's nothing else that we got to talk about. They're a Final Four contender. You can see number 3 in offensive efficiency, number 4 in defensive efficiency. But when you look at some of their games here, even though they did cover against Stanford here in their last matchup, they did not cover against Cal because they were like 23, 24-point favorites in that one. If we scroll down here real quickly, we could take a look exactly at what Duke has been doing recently against the number. You see they didn't cover against Cal. They didn't cover against Clemson because they lost that game outright. They were able to cover against Syracuse, but Syracuse is not really that good of a team, and same thing with North Carolina. So we're just getting a lot of points here on the road. This game was on the road for them. And I like the advantage here for Virginia to at least keep the game muddy, to keep it close for a little while. Does Duke win the game? Yes. Do they win it by double digits? Probably. But I think this is a game that could be closer than we think. Virginia might pull away late and, you know, be up by like 4, 5, 6 and then hit a few free throws down the stretch. Virginia can't hit enough threes and they pull away. But I like Virginia here. We're going to go plus 15 here. And if you can see Virginia, they've covered in the last 3 games as well, 4 of their last 5. If you want to take the over, I'm not opposed to that as well. You can see they've gone over in 4 of their last 5. So some of the Virginia unders that we're used to, we haven't been getting that this season as much. If we look at the over and under numbers real fast, you can see Virginia is actually 15-10 to the over this season. That's not typically what you're used to seeing from them. So that could be a look that you may want to look at as well. But we're going to go Virginia here on the spread as the first pick of the day. Now, our second best bet of the day is going to be the first of a few toss-ups. So we have a few pick'ems on the board. The first one being Utah and K-State. Now, K-State has been a program that I mentioned, if you've been tapped in here to the channel, that they are a bit overrated. If we pull them up on KenPom here real fast, we could kind of see a little bit about K-State, Kansas State here. All right, let's look at K-State real fast. Started off conference play very similar to what we saw from Virginia, 1 of 6. Keep in mind that this is a K-State team that lost a lot of pieces from their team last year. They won 6 in a row, 5 in a row in this streak right here, which is, 6 in a row. Then they lost to BYU on the road. We faded them in this game against Arizona because I thought that was going to be the game they were going to lose. Well, they lost this one on the road against BYU. And I think the same thing happens today. Utah, in their last matchup, beat Kansas at home. So this screams classic letdown spot. You upset one of the top teams in the country at home. Utah played a great game, but if you look at all the statistical numbers of that game, Kansas hit more three-pointers. They shot better from the free throw line. They shot better from the field goal percentage. The only reason why Utah won that game was because they were better on the defensive glass. And on the offensive glass. And they did not have as many turnovers. But it still was a game where Kansas, when you look at the numbers, really played well. And Utah just played a little bit better. So when you're looking at that, you might say this is a letdown spot for Utah. But again, Kansas State has consistently been a little bit overrated because of this 6-game win streak that they went on here. And now that we're basically getting a pick'em, I'm going to go with Utah here on the money line at home. You can see KenPom has this as a 2-point loss for K-State, and I agree with that. Because when you see some of K-State's recent wins, it's been impressive. Iowa State, Arizona State, Kansas, Arizona. Don't get me wrong. But first and foremost, Utah has a very efficient offense. And secondly, when you look at their numbers on the offensive side, they still struggle to score the ball at times. 142 from the three-point line, 105 from the two-point line. And when you're playing a team, you can see BYU scored 80 points on them. Altitude matters. So if you're not scoring a whole lot of points, and your offense is not the best, and you're playing a team like Utah, like Colorado, like BYU, where the altitude plays a factor, I feel like that has an advantage in this game. Meanwhile, defensively, Utah's strong. 79th in defensive efficiency, 44th in effective field goal percentage. They don't give a whole lot of two-pointers, and K-State does not shoot the three ball well. They're decent enough on offense. You can see 84th in offensive efficiency, 83rd in effective field goal percentage. I like Utah here. I like them at home. I like them to get the win. And they've been playing good basketball. And Utah, really, they need another kind of resume booster if they expect to get any kind of love or some. I don't think they're going to get an at-large bid from the committee, but if they can make some noise down the stretch, they should be able to. So Utah on the money line. You can see here it's at about minus 135. I'm not the biggest fan of that, in all honesty. So what I'll probably do is we'll lay 1.5 here at minus 125. We'll go Utah. We'll do that. I just don't feel like laying minus 135 is not bad. We could do it. But I just did minus 1.5. They'll win the game by more than one possession. So we'll lock that in. Second and third and final best bet of the day, guys, is going to come, and it is our last pick'em of the day. And it's going to be the late night between Arizona and Baylor. Two programs that are both fighting for a lot to play for right now. Let's look at both of these schools and what they've done recently. Arizona, you can see they're 17-8 on the year, 23rd in effective field goal percentage, 12th in defensive efficiency. They're tough. 11-1 to get started in conference, but they've lost back-to-back games against Kansas State and against Houston. Now, the Houston loss is the problem with Arizona, and it's going to be the issue for them come tournament time, conference or NCAA tournament, depending on the team that they play. And that is their offense keeps them in games. Their offense is strong enough to compete with anybody in the country, but their lack of discipline defensively and ability to close out close games is going to be their downfall. We saw that against Houston. They had that game handily. Houston was fighting and clawing. They weren't able to put out the knockout blow, but Houston's not a program that you're going to be able to do that on a lot of times. And they let that game slip through their hands. Same thing with the K-State game. And obviously, when you look here, they won this game by 9. They won this game by 11. They won this game by 9. This game went to overtime, but they still won by 11. They're not playing a lot of close games. And when they do play close games, like UCLA, they lost that game 57-54. They're losing those tough and close games. So for me, this is a pick'em. It's coming down to the line. You're on the road against a Baylor team in Waco, Texas, where if they don't have the injuries that they've had this season, it's a completely different program. They're 16-9, so they're still competitive. They're still going to make the tournament. But every single player, it doesn't matter if it's Edgecombe, it doesn't matter if it's Wright, it doesn't matter if it's Roach. Every player has missed time with injuries this season. But they've still been able to find a way. And I watched them live against Houston. I was actually in Houston again for this game against Baylor. And this game was a little bit closer than people thought it was. Like, the final score was an 11-point win for Houston. Houston was dominant by far. But Baylor can play. They've got the players that can create their own shots, and that's going to pay dividends for a team like Arizona that just wants to play fast anyway, that just wants to shoot it, go up and down the court, and just outscore you anyway. I think this is going to be one where Baylor's defense, 65 in defensive efficiency, but their offense, 12th in adjusted efficiency, is going to play the dividends. And I'm going to take Baylor at home today on the money line as our third and final best bet of the day. And you can see Ken Palmas is a 1-point win for them. I do agree they were able to claw back and win this game in overtime against West Virginia, even though that game really shouldn't have gone into overtime. Baylor was just playing around with their food. They had a sizable lead in that game. And this is, and really, in all honesty, the narrative is the same with Baylor about closing off close games. BYU, overtime loss. Arizona State, overtime win. 74-71 loss to TCU. So they've definitely played their fair share of close games as well. But I think Arizona is a little bit overpriced, in my personal opinion, just because of how they started off conference play. And they did have some quality wins in there, like an Iowa State win. But when you look at how they started off, besides the Texas Tech loss, who else did they really play for real? Besides Baylor, you get what I'm saying? Now the back, the step up in class to me is an issue, and I like the revenge spot for Baylor here as well after getting beaten by 11 on the road last time, and that game was back in January. So we're knocking in Baylor here for 1 unit down, minus 120 odds. So our 3 best bets for today on the free 3, my friends, is Virginia plus 14.5 at minus 125. Utah, you can do them on the money line, but we did them at minus 1.5, and we got that at minus 125. And then we're also going to do Baylor on the money line, and we got that for minus 120. So we're laying a little bit of juice today, but juice only matters if you lose. Hopefully we can turn the ship around. We're taking a little bit of a break on the money line parlays, guys. We want to be able to win here, and you got to adjust accordingly. So because we're losing those by 1 leg every single time, you got to adjust. And I like these plays for today. Let me know what you guys like in the comments below. I appreciate y'all tapping in. And if we sweep the board, as always, then you guys know the vibes. We're going to be Venmoing somebody some money, all right? Appreciate y'all for tapping in. It's your boy, Noble Living. This is the free 3. Follow me on all socials at Noble Living. Appreciate y'all. Love.